Sorry, guys. Camera, hold on. There we go. How we doing? We gotta turn on the Christmas light. Actually, I don't want this today. I'd actually prefer the downside, personally. Couple last days of the Christmas tree here. Morning, everyone. Welcome back. How we doing? Happy Friday. What's up, Margin? Sid, John, Tur, Bob, Golf Nut. What's up, man? Black Coffee Trader. Lawrence, Chef. What's up, guys? Feeman, Mora. Press that like button. Appreciate that, D-Lock. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, man. Welcome back, welcome back. Nice sweater, thank you. This is from last year. How we doing, how we doing? Philly Mike, appreciate that, man. Thanks for joining the Coffee Fund. Definitely continuing to get that little by little. We're trying to make it perfect. I'm excited for that. All right. So, your dad's birthday's the 23rd. I appreciate, nice. Pour one up for me. Appreciate that, Palmer. Happy birthday to your dad. Yeah, 22nd, my birthday, 31 years old. I will be in New York for that one. So exciting to, I'm excited for that. I don't know if it's, I think it's going to be snowing, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, anyways, today, looking for pretty much one particular trade today. If it happens, great. If not, I think you sort of leave it alone. You have a very clear channel here. Again, our highs, our levels from yesterday were absolutely perfection, by the way. So that was great. We had our key supply above. We had our Tuesday low holds. And so I told myself yesterday I wasn't going to trade. And I did a pretty good job of, it was a very relaxed sort of one and done type of day, which I'm very happy with. Those are the types of days I need to continue to have. And it was just right off our game plan, right? So it was perfect to the game plan. And if it's that perfect to the game plan, then, it's going to be hard for me not to execute my game plan. I think at the end of the day, that's actually a negative for me to not execute a game plan that I have. What I need to not do is just wander away from the game plan, right? So yesterday, the game plan was that Tuesday low reclaim. We saw a very nice move on the Qs for almost 7 points off the Tuesday low reclaim. And there was a nice 100% long that created itself off that level. And that's what I did. Now, that long pushed right up into supply high. The one thing I did good yesterday was I sold into the push, right? Again, I didn't believe in the continuation. I didn't try to get something that wasn't happening. I got my squeeze, I got my scalp, and I got the hell out. That is just the market that we're in, and I need to continue to remind myself of that. A beautiful $6,000 trade. Pretty incredible trade, nice profit. Definitely, one of the biggest trades I've taken this entire month, so really happy about that. It was a scalp long off of Tuesday low reclaims into our 613 supply, selling into the supply, and getting the hell out. In the past few weeks, I would look for continuation because that's just sort of where my brain is wired, and that's what ends up failing, right? Is the continuation look. And yesterday, I didn't look for it, so I'm very happy with that. Got to keep doing that. That's the game plan today. Again, quick scalps, no continuation, channel it is, right? If we can get a nice key level to play a break and retest off of, then that's what we look for. So let's see if we can do it again to close the week. Going to be very selective today. It's Friday. I'm going to Disney today with the fam. So Disney this weekend. not trying to think about trading when I'm at the happiest place on earth, right? So let's close the week nice, and let's do, let's just be smart about the risk we put on. So, ooh, I forgot to stream to X. Hold on. Let me try that again. Hold on here. Here we go. There we go. Let me delete the other one. Bear with me, and we'll get started. Delete that. Bam. All right. Let's make it a day. Hold on. All right, let's do it. So today we are looking for, hold on. Let me get this set up. Perfect. Today we are watching, for me at least, I am watching the gaps below. That is sort of the main watch for me today. What is going to happen with the gap below on the NASDAQ futures on the QQQ? If we get outside of this range from yesterday, interesting. If not, then not interesting. That's really how I'm looking at that today. So I'll show you guys exactly what that is. So right here, you guys can see on the QQQ, you have this nice pending gap fill that we did not gap fill yesterday, right? So yesterday we gapped up, we reclaimed the Tuesday's lows, which was one of our levels we were watching, which was that 607 spot. We basically did a double bottom at that 607 level yesterday, and we saw some pushes off that level. We saw a rejection off our supply. We saw a push off that level. We saw a rejection off our supply, right? So pretty much, what is that? It's a total channel day inside of two key levels, right? Tuesday low reclaim and still the 2050 SMA supply, 613, 615. So really great levels, really nice clean supply above, very nice Tuesday reclaim low, right? And what we can see here is below this Tuesday low and below yesterday's low, look what we got. We got this nice little gap down here. So I think that's the most advantageous thing to look for today, by far. I don't think there's anything much more interesting than that. If we get this little break and retest of this key level, then I'm definitely intrigued by a possible trade to fill that gap. If we don't get that, then, I'll stay away. I'm not going to get interested inside of this. This is sort of my NTZ today. I'm actually going to go ahead and draw that out for myself, right? So this zone right here, sort of that NTZ. If we don't get any type of move outside of this channel, then I probably will sort of, make it a nice slow Friday and just wrap it up. So NTZ there on the Qs, underneath yesterday low a day, underneath Tuesday's lows. I think you can look for that gap fill short. If you get above 613, 615, if you do hold above that daily 20, daily 50, then I think you probably trade up towards that 618, 619, and maybe you have a little opportunity to the upside here. But we can very clearly see how important that that supply is. We can see even here in the pre-market session, we are sort of fading that high again, and we can see those supply highs there. So that's my NTZ today. If you want to trade the channel, of course, right? Longs off the lows, short off the highs. You got to sort of trade the, trade the ups and downs if that's sort of what you're interested in today. I would like to see either the gap fill underneath the 607 or the hold above 615, 613, right? That's really it. I mean, that's the whole game plan today. On the NASDAQ futures, I'll go ahead and show you what levels I'm looking at here. NASDAQ futures, the supply really is, which I'm cautious of, is up here at 25,508, right? That's where that big rejection point is from Wednesday. So I'd be very careful on the long side into that 25,508. There are previous highs from yesterday I think you probably want to mark out just sort of like right around here at 25,412. I think you want to mark out PDH, right? I already have that sort of marked out on a daily basis, but I think marking out that PDH is probably a smart idea. Here's the trade that could get a little tricky today, right? I don't know if I would love a long over PDH into this high. I just don't think that that's enough juice for me, right? I don't think, I think there's a very possible chance that this is actually the bull trap inside of here, right? So people longing over PDH into this Wednesday high could actually be the sort of bull trap liquidity grab that I would be very cautious of, right in there. So just be a little bit careful of that. I would be I would definitely not want to be long over PDH today, even though typically I would be. There's just too much rejection above the PDH yesterday at this 25,500 spot. So I would, what I like to say is it's not a trap if it's not a trap if you can see it. And I think that you probably could sort of smell out the trap above PDH into this high. If you do get this little, squeeze above previous day high and you get something like this, that is a nice bull trap right up there. So I would be careful inside this zone between 25,412 to 25,508 between the Wednesday high and yesterday high. That's a little bit questionable up there, right? So just be careful there. You still got the daily 20, daily 50 above. Again, my thesis for the market being a potential pullback long was a lot of, this entire thesis was based off of holding the daily 20, daily 50, right? That is no longer valid, right? So that bigger picture, you sort of have to flip your thought process here a little bit. I don't want to be long a market that is below the daily 20, daily 50. Maybe scalps, right? If you find a scalp you like to the upside, if there's some kind of price action intraday that warrants a little upside squeeze because of maybe you caught a little bear trap, right? Maybe you see a little sweep of Tuesday's lows and you see a nice price action reaction back above it, maybe for a little reclaim ripper, right? That's all, sort of discretionary trading. If you like that reclaim, maybe if you sweep the Tuesday's lows, you get a nice, reclaim above that and you see some clear price action that's going to send this higher for a scalp back to the upside, sure, right? Sure. I don't hate on those trades. Those are definitely, nice intraday opportunities. But what I would say is those are, in terms of the bigger picture, scalps up to the upside that are below the 20 and 50 are definitely short-lived upside scalps, right? So that's what I would remember. Any long you take, if the market is trading below its SMAs, is a scalp long. It is not a long looking for breakout and continuation, right? So just understand that you are trading below the 20 and 50. That's definitely not where you want to be if you want to look for upside continuation. I would love to see the NASDAQ get over 25,508 for upside. That's really what you need to see happen. But for now, you're just not getting that, right? You're just sort of sitting here inside of this range. So I would watch Tuesday's lows today. That's definitely a key spot. I would watch this 25.5, and it looks pretty damn channeling sideways here into Friday end of week. So S&P 500, very clear. Yesterday, it rejected our 6860, 6870 zone. It rejected some of these previous lows. It rejected these highs here, rejected that same Wednesday high. Another failure in that supply, another failure at the daily 20. Tuesday lows, that's really the level you can see right here. And we have a very clear, in my opinion, NTZ today. I mean, just all within yesterday's range. If you stay within yesterday's range, I would be a little bit hands off today, guys. I mean, not much to miss out on if you stay within yesterday's range, right? Not much to look back and say, man, do I wish I traded that action. So you'd like to see a break underneath yesterday's lows. You'd like to see a break over that daily 20. Without that, you are inside of yesterday's range. And on a Friday, and this is also monthly, this is the monthly options expiration, yes? December 19th is the monthlies, correct? Yes, I believe so. So, OPEX, options expiration, inside yesterday's range, a recipe for nothing, right? Let's just come into the day expecting that, and let's set up our barriers. If our barriers break, right, if the guardrails break, we can look for that continuation to a single direction. If the guardrails stay intact, then we sort of anticipate a sideways consolidation type day. SPY, we can see here, sitting down at the lows, right? Sitting down at the Tuesday lows, 675. There is also demand down at 674, so I'm a little bit cautious inside that demand low, right? I don't think I want to be short into that 674, 675 low. If we hold there, you know, you might get your little pop, but man, do the pops just ultimately fail every time. It's a very clear channel, right, guys? I mean, you have Tuesday's highs, you have Monday's highs, you have Wednesday's highs, you have yesterday's highs. You have highs from the entire week here at 681, 680. 681.50, 680.86 is what I have, right? So rejections, 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 rejections. If you get another pop into that, I would say you could look for that failure again. Yesterday, it was a great failure. To the downside, there is a gap that you can look for. It's very tight. It's not as big as the Qs, but there is a gap you can look for. I would say underneath 675 is where it would start. I would say a little bit cautious at 674, being that daily high and that very possible demand zone in there. Under 674, then I think you could look for a little bit of a navigation of the gap fill, but it's not as big as the Qs. That's something to be a little bit cautious of, right? The Qs definitely has a nice clean area to fill that gap. The SPY is a much tighter, little zone down here. So a little bit careful on that, right? Just a little bit careful on that. You can see here on the 5-minute chart, we have a very clear Tuesday low, which held yesterday perfectly at the daily 50 SMA. So that's a very clear hold level. I would be careful of that holding again. And also in the pre-market, we can see we have the pre-market lows at 674 right there. So I'd say if you do get a clear break and hold below the pre-market lows and the 675 level, if we really do get something clean like this today and a break, sort of a break and retest bear flag underneath these lows, underneath that daily 50, and we can look for that gap fill, I think that is possible. But it's going to be, again, very much a scalp-like trade, possibly targeting the overnight lows here at 671, and that's pretty much just about it. Daily 20 above, still causing rejections, and still very clear rejections above. So, yeah, that's really it, man. Nothing really too exciting here today. Again, I think the only thing that really piques my interest today is whether or not we can maybe grab this little Q's gap fill, right? That's really it. That's like the only spot that I sort of see and my eyes sort of light up there and say, oh, that could be a nice opportunity in that area. So let's see. 607 Qs on the NASDAQ futures. That is underneath 25,161, which we're not below. So we can't just predict that that's going to happen. We can't anticipate that's going to happen. You got to turn off make sure to turn off the extended hours trading, Chef. You won't see it if your extended hours are on. It's hard to see on the daily chart, right? You don't see it on the daily chart because this, well, I guess you technically will see it, but here's your close, right, of this day, and here's your open, right? So it's the gap between the Wednesday close and the Thursday open, right in there. So it looks a little funky on the daily chart because you have this huge red-bodied candle, right? That sort of makes it hard to see that real gap there. But if you go down to the 5 or the 15, whatever time frame you want to look at, and then turn off the extended hours, right? There's your close from Friday or Wednesday, and there's your Thursday open, right? So your gap is right there. So do you need to fill that? I think it's a very high likelihood at some point of it filling. But hey, we got to see, right? We got to let it break down. We can't anticipate. SPX has that same gap, yep, below 67.64. You could bring it down to like the low here at 67.60. You could look to see if that level does reject and does fill that SPX gap. We just have to see if the real action's there, right? We have to be careful of looking for that too aggressively. We need to see the breakdown. We need to see the failure. We need to see the retest rejection. We need to make sure it's actually there, okay? Because honestly, the reason that's a little bit dangerous is because this 67.60, 67.64 spot is, remember, these major highs. So if those highs get defended, right, this could be a very aggressive pushback to the upside off these highs after reclaiming them. Right, that's also a very important thing to realize what's going on. So you got to put a little bit of context onto this. Reclaiming these daily highs is also a very important reclaim, by the way. 67.60, 67.64, which is right where you held all day yesterday, right in here. Look at these holds. So if you look at this market from yesterday, you can see pretty aggressive holds of that spot. So you want to be very careful with how aggressive those holds were, getting too aggressive on the short side look, right? You definitely need to see a real breakdown and, a weak price action to warrant that look. You can't be being cute here trying to short these lows without a breakdown, because look at what happened to people doing that yesterday. Not a very pretty sight. So please just be cautious. It looks good. It looks like a possibility, but it is definitely not done yet. It's definitely not happening right now. So don't come into the day just like, that's, I'm just going to take that trade and hope it works. It's really got to set up for you, all right? All right, let's move on. IWM, this is actually an interesting watch as well for me. You can see IWM is failing the 250 previous lows, so that is definitely something you should watch as well. You can see right here, IWM, these major lows right here turning into rejections in the pre-market today. So if you do have a little bit of maybe a weak move on the market today, if you do break this little bear flag here back into these lows, these lows, these lows, these lows, and these highs, if you see a little bit of a weakness move on the IWM, breaking this trend, breaking the daily 20, then you might get that move back down towards that daily 50, that 245. So that's also an interesting watch. I would just need to see what happens here at 250, 249 today. Okay, SMH also rejecting a key supply level as well today. You guys can see right here, the daily 20 is still failing on the SMH right here. You have that previous low. You have a daily 20 rejection yesterday. You have a daily 20 rejection this morning. So that's 353. That's a daily 20 SMA. I would be careful of that high. And then also if we go like this, you will see that there is a nice SMH gap that you can look for if it does start to show today. You have a nice SMH gap fill underneath 346. Underneath 345.83. See that right there? Here's your major gap up from the 339 to, honestly, it was up to 351, right? That's your huge gap on the SMH yesterday. And I would say if you can see something clear in terms of a break and retest rejection, right, underneath that 346, you might be able to look for that gap fill today. That could be quite a nice trade. SMH is still rejecting the levels that you want to see it reject. You can see right here. So let's keep a watch out for that. Let's put an alert there. Let's see if it breaks. And if it does, maybe interesting in a trade. If not, then I'd say leave it alone. IBIT, nice strength this morning on IBIT. Crypto names are slightly higher, but where is IBIT into again? It's right into the same rejection point. So you can see massive rejections between the 50 and 51 spot here. You have rejections Wednesday, rejections yesterday, and here you are again in the same area. So a little bit careful of that same sort of rejection out of supply there. I think what Bitcoin needs more than anything for upside is a reclaim and a day that closes above the daily 20, right? You need a day that closes above. You can't have a day that just goes above it, right? Here's a move above it, failing. Here's a move right into it, failing. So you need a true close above the daily 20, which you have not gotten here on the SMH, or I'm sorry, on IBIT. So that's something you would look for if you want to see our crypto stay strong. All right, let's go Dow Jones to finish off the market watches here. Dow Jones still inside that nice daily 20 demand area, still above that 48.8 or 48.1, 48.2 area, still above it. Not looking that, not Not looking that strong off the lows. A nice rejection here, man. Look at that. 48,750 Wednesday and yesterday. Same exact highs. Pretty damn perfect. So that's definitely your clear rejection high up there. Here's your nice daily 20 low. And there's your channel for the day. Okay. All right. Let's continue. If you guys could, please press that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Get us to 1,000 likes today. I'd appreciate that. 1,000 likes for Christmas. That's my Christmas wish. All right. Tesla, still great, right? Still outperforming. Still just healthy on a daily basis. Yesterday again, what does it do? It holds our exact 474. So that's beautiful, right? We've had that 474 level on focus for a few weeks now. That's been perfect. 474, very nice. Yesterday, we got our breakout over that 480 spot, right? And where did we pull back to? We pulled back right back into that Monday high, right back into that Tuesday intraday high. And look what held right there, 480, 481. Not a bad hold. So Tesla still very much an outperformer in this market. I would say look for pullbacks to the 480, 481 level again. Look to see if this level holds. Look to see if this rejection holds. Look to see if this Tuesday rejection holds. Look to see if this Monday high holds, right? That's a great spot. Look to see if those levels maintain. If they do, that could be a nice opportunity back to the upside, right? Something to watch there for sure. Previous all-time highs, 480.54 is definitely a little bit of a cautionary spot. 496 is definitely a little bit of a cautionary spot. That's all-time highs. I would be watching this 480, 481 spot today. That's definitely the pullback I'd like to see happen, to see if anything sets up off of that. Not much on NVIDIA. AMD, sort of interesting, but we'll see. It's gonna depend on what the market does today. AMD, there is interest in the gap fill. I think a lot of people are watching this, right? Big gap here on AMD. Definitely some interest to see if that can fill. You are susceptible to holds at the daily 100, right? You're susceptible to holds at this 194 low. So I'm a little bit cautious trying to trade that inside of this zone where we're currently trading. I just don't see it being that fluid. If you break under that 194.28 spot, if you break under the daily lows from both November 21st and November 25th, you can see those double bottom lows right there. If you break that, then I'd say you flow a little bit better. You got about 8 points below that to the next high, which is 186. So for me, I would probably be cautious here and wait to see if you can break inside of this zone here before any type of shorts, right? I don't think shorting into the daily 100 is necessarily the best idea on the day, right? So 194.28, I'm going to put an alert there. I'll wait for that. If that doesn't hit, then probably nothing on AMD today. ASML actually turning our major demand level into now a rejection point. So this is sort of intriguing for the bear flag breakdown, depending on what semis do, of course. But you can see here, major rejection, right? You can see here, major rejection, right here, major rejection, right here, major rejection. Look at the flush below that level and look at the retest coming back into it. If we turn that level into another major rejection here on a break and retest rejection, that really could be a nice downside move, maybe targeting these lows again at 940 after this big squeeze to the upside. Does it give it back? That's interesting. You know, we'll have to see what semis look like. You can see very clear supply above at that 1060, 1065. You can see that daily 20 sitting up there. You can see the bear flag that's building here. Yeah, there's definitely some interest here. If you turn off the extended hours, you can see that there is a gap from the Wednesday close underneath our 1035 spot. You break that, you got a gap of around 20 points to the downside that could start that sort of bear flag breakdown. I'd be intrigued, right? What do I need to see to trade this? I need to see SMH very weak. I need to see the market sort of filling that gap as well. I need to see the market weakness. So that's something I'll look for on ASML. Again, ASML is also a very difficult one to trade, I'd say, right? The spreads are definitely spreading and the liquidity is definitely low. So just be a little bit careful on that, right? You can see the intraday. It's not a very highly traded stock, so it can toss you around pretty good. So just be careful of that on ASML as always. Broadcom, really not much, just sort of sitting at this demand low. TSM, not much. MU, I really just don't like the chart at all. So yeah, that's really it. AMD, ASML are the two that I'll keep an eye out for. Really, that QQQ gap is something that I'll be watching. All right, so that's that. Let's go into some individual equities. Google. Tuesday low reclaim is important. We'll see if it can maintain. If it does, maybe you get that Tuesday low reclaim and you sort of get this, move back up to fill this straight down move here, maybe straight up, straight down, right? Hard to short it into that 300 gap fill level. Just not a really big fan of that one. Into that 300 high. If I go to the 4 hour, you can see right here. So just not really a beautiful short in my book, right into that 300 previous high here. That's sort of tough. So not much really for me on Google. This downtrend is still just very much slowly moving lower. Can you break out of it at some point? You're going to need to see markets change their behavior. Yeah, not much for me on Google today, to be quite honest. Amazon had a nice day yesterday. Big squeeze to the upside into 228. But 228 has been a very big rejection point. So watch out for that today. 228, daily 20, daily 100. Right here, 228, 228, 228. You're right into that 228 again. So look to see what happens at 228 on Amazon today. If you reclaim that 228, then maybe you do have that opportunity back to 232. That is a possibility. If you reject 228 today, then there could even be, another downside look today. So 228 Amazon is a big spot you can watch. Meta had a nice outperformance yesterday again. We'll see if it can maintain. What do I need to see on Meta to look for longs? I would first need to see the market do something that actually warrants that, which is probably hard to get today. But Meta 660, that's a good hold back above 660 on Meta. The problem is, look at the rejections again at the daily 200 SMA. All right, so do I want to be long Meta into the daily 200 today? That's a little bit tough. If you can get over the daily 200, if you can break and hold above the 200 SMA in the future, I think that's a nice watch. I would be keeping an alert there. 660 would be the level that has to hold. Palantir, to me, looks like only a matter of time. I mean, this is a fantastic looking maintain and consolidation above previous highs. You have really nice highs here. You have very clear demand lows. You're grinding above the daily 100 and daily 20, which is still very good for Palantir. It definitely keeps finding a lot of buyers off this 174, 177 zone, but you just need that break over 190, man. Right? You're just sort of stuck between 190 and 177. So looks like a matter of time for me. You're going to need that market to give us a little juice. If you get that, Palantir would be probably one of the top watches for some of this recent outperformance. So something to keep eyes on at least. Netflix, sort of an ugly chart here on Netflix, guys. The daily chart does not look good to me. And almost, to me, looks like it needs more downside, which I'm sort of shocked to say. But if you look at this daily chart, this is a pretty ugly daily chart, guys. This is a pretty perfect daily bear flag. So you keep rejecting that 97.36 spot, even with that strength we saw yesterday and even the day prior, it still rejected that level. So, that's a bear flag. If I've ever seen one on a daily chart, that definitely, to me, could lead to more downside. You possibly are targeting this 85 weekly low. If you break under the 92.28 spot, I think you might get that pretty quick. So I would be keeping eyes on Netflix. You can see right here, just keeps getting smacked at that 97.36 spot. If you break these lows, there could be something worth watching. So I have an alert there. Nothing really too interesting, but if that alert hits, then I will flip over to it for sure. APP outperforming yesterday. What an incredible, just straight up move off the 655 demand. You can look to see if it maintains these previous highs today and see if there's that outperformance again. All right, you can see right here, major highs, and look at the lows that came in yesterday at this 688, 690 spot. So if APP can mount above these, Wednesday and Monday highs and turn that into a new low, that's definitely a good look for APP to try to navigate back towards the 720, 730 zone. We'll see. If this fails back under and rejects, then you know that that is equally as interesting to the downside. So I would watch both sides. Carvana just keeps holding that 440. That's really it, man. Eli Lilly yesterday, we had that game plan to long off 1033. Unfortunately, that just absolutely sent it off the open. I mean, I don't even know how you catch this trade. Just 1 minute, bell opens vertically to the upside of over $10 a share, almost $20 a share in 3 minutes. So wild there on Eli Lilly. However, the 4-hour chart sort of showed you what it was going to do. Yesterday, we talked about this right here, right? We were looking at this right there on Eli Lilly. Nice 4-hour flag, back into demand, and look at the result of it. However, you are still failing that 1075 area, right? This previous high, failing again. So you may start to establish yourself a channel there, right? You got yourself a channel now. So I'm going to set an alert on the channel limits and then see if we get above or below that channel limit. But let's keep an eye on healthcare because it continues to be an interesting sector. Maybe it cools off at some point. It's had a big run. You can see it's starting to sort of reject under these previous highs here, which is a little bit concerning. Maybe it needs a little bit of a cool off there, right? See that? Previous high, previous low, turning now into rejections below the daily 20. If healthcare sort of fails that move, that could be interesting for a little bit of a cool off on healthcare as well. So something you can watch. If we go back to the 4-hour, I would say a break under this 4-hour low here with 153 would probably send that lower. So that could be actually an interesting watch on a failure of that previous high right here at the 154 and daily 20. Thoughts on KLAC? Let me take a look. KLAC. Yeah, I mean, a nice trending move off the daily 50s, right? Daily 50, daily 50, daily 50. I'd say you probably want to see a break over this high here, Sid. 1255. If you can get a break over that 1255, then maybe you get some action there. But right now, just, holding that daily 50, not bad. Also a very thinly traded stock, Sid. I would be careful of that, right? It's not definitely not an intraday trading stock, more of a daily chart, long-term look, because that intraday action is just not really there. Lulu, filling the gap, sort of pulling back after that big gap up. I still think 208 is your best spot. I'd keep an eye on 208. Zoom's hanging around our key level still. Maybe a matter of time before this thing finally goes. Not much else out there today, guys. I really don't have much else out there for you. So, QQQ, once again, one of my watches is going to be to see if we break that gap below. If we break below that 607. If not, be careful of your upside supply today at daily 20, daily 50. Also, be very aware of your NTZ. Watch yesterday's range, guys. Yesterday's range was very much a range. So, just be aware of trading within this yesterday range. Try to stay away from that range. Look for breaks outside of it. Okay. All right. So I just want to give you guys some updates on the calendar here. So Monday I am traveling to New York, so there will be no stream on Monday. It's also sad because it's my birthday. I would have loved to be on stream with you guys for my birthday, but no stream on Monday. There's a good chance we don't get a stream all next week, guys. I'm going to be in New York with family. It's my grandfather's 90th birthday. I don't think I'm going to be trying to stream in the morning from New York. I just don't think that's really something I need to be doing. We'll have our community covered with some of the other members. I think we're going to have ADR and Case and Blader and some of the futures guys take over for a few days in there. We'll have the ADR Wednesday. But yeah, I mean, streaming next week when I'm in New York, I think it's probably right that we take a little break for enjoy the family, enjoy the time away. We'll be back to streaming on the 29th. So definitely the 29th, Monday the 29th, and we'll sort of move into the new year together starting on the 29th of next year. Sid, appreciate that, man. Happy birthday from our community. Have cupcakes or shots, your choice. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate that, man, with a $50 donation. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. Happy birthday, Desi. 90th to your grandfather. Yeah, grandfather's birthday is actually on Christmas. He's a Christmas baby. He was born on Christmas, which is pretty cool. So that's going to be a fun time with the family. 90 years old. What a blessing, huh? Tomahawk's ready? Yeah, I wish I had more time this time, Chef, but we're definitely going to have to plan something with Carmine for sure, man. It's going to be pretty much a full family trip, that's for sure. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas. Thank you, Bob. All right. So that's that. Let's plan our trade our plan. Let's be careful of the NTZ today. If nothing sets up, let's be happy with a no trade day, right? Let's be happy with just maintaining, with preserving. Preserving's a win, especially in this market right now. Your mom's birthday is also on Christmas. Oh, happy birthday to your mom there. Is it Carla? Carla? Happy birthday to Carla's mom. 70 years old. All right. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Oh, yeah, I mean, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, because I probably won't talk to you. Maybe I'll try my best to jump on something. I'll talk to you guys in the group, obviously. And I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Appreciate that margin. I'll look out for it, man. You got it. All right. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I will talk to you guys on Monday, the 29th, and maybe next week if I can find a way, if I have time, maybe I'll jump on, say hi, say what's up. But just keep on the lookout. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace and love.